Aplutya vabhritam yatra Tyavabhritam yatra Ganga yamunayanvita Virajenatmana sarve Swam swam dhama yayustataha Aplutyavabhritam yatra Ganga yamunayanvita Virajenatmana sarve Swam swam dhama yayustataha Aplutyavabhritam yatra Ganga yamunayanvita Virajenatmana sarve Swam swam dhama yayustataha
Aplutyavabhritam yatra
Aplutyavabhritam yatra
Yamuna yanvita
Ganga yamunayanvita
Virajenatmana sarve
Virajenatmana sarve
Swam swam dhama yayustataha
Swam swam dhama yayustataha
Aplutyavabhritam yatra
Aplutyavabhritam yatra
yamunayanvita
Ganga yamunayanvita
Virajenatmana sarve
Virajenatmana
sarve
Swam swam dhama yayustataha
Swam swam dhama yayustataha
Aplutyavabhritam yatra
Aplutyavabhritam yatra Ganga yamunayanvita Virajenatmana sarve Swam swam dhama yayustataha Aplutya, taking a bath. Avabhritam, the bath which is taken after performing sacrifices. Yatra, where? Ganga, the river Ganges. Yamunaya, by the river Yamuna. Anvita, mixed. Virajena, without infection. Atmana, by the mind. Sarve, all. Swam swam, they are respective. Dhama, abodes. Yayuh, went. Tataha, from there. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki. My dear Vidura, carrier of bows and arrows, all the demigods who were performing the sacrifice took their bath at the confluence of the Ganges and the Yamuna after completing the Yajna sacrifice. Such a bath is called Avabhrita Snan. After thus becoming purified in heart, they departed for their respective abodes. Purport Srila Prabhupada ki jai. After Lord Shiva and previously Daksha left the arena of sacrifice, the sacrifice was not stopped. The sages went on for many years in order to satisfy the Supreme Lord. The sacrifice was not destroyed for want of Shiva and Daksha, and the sages went on with their activities. In other words, it may be assumed that if one does not worship the demigods, even up to Lord Shiva and Brahma, one can nevertheless satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Kamais Taistayar Hrita Jnana Prapadyante Anya Devata. Persons who are impelled by lust and desire go to the demigods to derive some material benefit. Bhagavad Gita uses the very specific words Nasti Buddhi, meaning persons who have lost their sense or intelligence. Only such persons care for demigods and want to derive material benefit from them. Of course, this does not mean that one should not show respect to the demigods, but there is no need to worship them. One who is honest may be faithful to the government, but he does not need to bribe the government servants. Bribery is illegal. One does not bribe a government servant, but that does not mean that one does not show him respect. Similarly, one who engages in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord does not need to worship any demigod, nor does he have any tendency to show disrespect to the demigods. Elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Ye pe anya devata bhakta yajante shraddhayanvitaha. The Lord says that anyone who worships the demigods is also worshipping him, but he is worshipping avidhi purvakam, which means without following the regulative principles. The regulative principle is to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Worship of demigods may indirectly be worship of the Supreme of the Personality of Godhead, but it is not regulated. By worshipping the Supreme Lord, one automatically serves all the demigods because they are parts and parcels of the whole. Parts and parcels of the whole. If one supplies water to the root of a tree, all the parts of the tree, such as the leaves and branches, are automatically satisfied. And if one supplies food to the stomach, all the limbs of the body, the hands, legs, fingers, etc., are nourished. Thus, by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can satisfy all the demigods. But by worshipping all the demigods, one does not completely worship the Supreme Lord. Therefore, worship of the demigods is irregular and it is disrespectful to the scriptural injunctions. In this age of Kali, it is practically impossible to perform the Deva Yajna of sacrifices to the demigods. As such, in this age, Srimad Bhagavatam recommends Sankirtan Yajna, Yajnai Sankirtana Prayar Yajantihi Sumedasaha. In this age, the intelligent person completes the performance of all kinds of yajnas simply by chanting Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Tasmin Tushte Jagat Tushta. When Lord Vishnu is satisfied, all the demigods who are parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord are satisfied. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kata Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagan Lalita Shri Vishakanitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhasya Pranamami Hari Pre Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyev Cha Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Vishvasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim Yadkripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Pramanandamanam Shri Chaitanyeshwaram Hare Krishna. So this Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the only hope in this dangerous age of Kali. There is absolutely no other way, and no other way. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enacted his pastimes 500 years ago when he came to this material world. This, especially this Earth planet, is very fortunate to have had the footprints of the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His Holiness Jayapadaka Maharaj is going to different places in the Indian in the Indian subcontinent, and he is installing the footprints of Lord Chaitanya. So we are extremely fortunate to have been born in this time. So we have to take full advantage of this gift of Lord Chaitanya, which is the congregation chanting of the holy name. The congregational chanting of the holy name is the easiest, quickest, and most effective way to transcend the modes of ignorance and passion and come to the mode of goodness, and from there try to go to the transcendental platform. So that's what we experienced in the last week, that the power of collective Harinam Sankirtan is very, very powerful, very, very powerful. And that is the quickest way to actually satisfy the heart and elevate the consciousness. Mm. So, in this purport, it is mentioned, Prabhupada is saying that that how it is very important mm, to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this may seem extremely superficial, or may seem quite common to us because we don't worship the demigods. But a very important point to be considered here is Prabhupada says that worship of the demigods is irregular, which means our worship of Krishna should be regular. So regular worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not easy. Is not easy because mm, the beginning of our devotional service means we have to recognize that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is supreme. And He's supreme because His enjoyment is supreme and His control is supreme. So, unless one accepts that principle and works on that principle, that how Krishna is supreme and His will is supreme, and we become more and more eager to abide by Krishna's instructions in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the preliminary study, so Krishna's instructions, we cannot enter into the more spontaneous, into the more loving relationship with Krishna. So, one has to study the scriptures regularly for the purpose of understanding that how everything is ultimately part and parcel of Krishna. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Nitai Patita Pavan Gaura Harijat Guru Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, by understanding that everything is part and parcel of Krishna, everything is resting in Krishna, only then is it possible to give up the desire to enjoy this material world. So, the desire to enjoy this material world comes from the conception that I am independent, or something in this world is independent, it's available for me to enjoy. But the more and more we realize that everything is part and parcel of Krishna's desire, Krishna's plan, then we understand that we cannot enjoy. Like, for example, if someone understands that there is someone who is controlling everything happening in this room, including us, someone is controlling, then one understands that even if you try to enjoy something separately, or you try to enjoy something independently, but at the end of that enjoyment, everything will go back to its original place. So, which means that my enjoyment was completely, had no consequence, has no real existence for that matter, because in course of time it disappears and it becomes irrelevant. So, when we understand that, then we can slowly, at least intellectually, work on how we can satisfy the Supreme Lord. Satisfying Krishna is very easy if we simply understand that Krishna is a property of his pure devotee. So if we understand that Krishna is a property of his pure devotee, it becomes very easy that we just have to follow the instructions of the pure devotee. And even if we cannot follow any instructions of the pure devotee at a particular time and place, if we simply desire to please the pure devotee, that gives us a lot of strength. That gives us a lot of strength. So, yeah, this Sankirtan Yajna is the essence of all the instructions of Prabhupada. Hmm. Because even the all the Shastra, all the philosophy, the purpose is actually to chant and dance. Because if you see the instructions of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu spoke very less. Krishna Kaviraj Goswami says that there were three levels of consciousness or three different types of consciousness of Lord Chaitanya. Sorry, three types of consciousness. One is internal, external, and semi. So, very, although Mahaprabhu gave instructions and Mahaprabhu, for the sake of pleasing, enacting pastimes, he came to external consciousness. But even that external consciousness is not external, it's internal. Because that external consciousness he exhibited with his pure devotees. Like most of the time you see with his pure devotees perform the pastime. So even though that may be external consciousness, but actually it's internal consciousness. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was most of the time in internal consciousness. But in order to deliver people in general, to raise the consciousness, he actually performed this Nam Sankirtan. So Nam Sankirtan means the purpose of Nam Sankirtan is to awaken the most important aspect of Bhakti Yoga, and that is enthusiasm. The most important thing in bhakti is to be enthusiastic. And you cannot be enthusiastic unless you're attracted to something. Only when you become attracted can you become enthusiastic. And only if you become enthusiastic can you drive out the laziness, drive out the negativity. Because ultimately, only if we want to come out of our conditioning, come out of the anarthas, is it ever possible. So the most important aspect of Sankirtan, the most important aspect of Sankirtan is actually enthusiasm. So when we take part in any kind of Kirtan, whether it's Mangalarti or any time, at least in our mind, we should be enthusiastic. Right? We may not always be able to dance or jump or whatever, but in our heart, we should be enthusiastic and we should actually be praying to Krishna so that we can obtain taste for the holy name. Because whether chanting or dancing, both of these things, it is for pleasing Krishna. Like we're not the purpose of dancing is not that we want to attract people or we want to impress people. And the purpose of chanting is also not to impress people with melody singing or whatever. The purpose is ultimately to attain to the stage of pure devotional service. So we have to chant and dance with that consciousness. And always remember that ultimately Krishna is only conquered by pure devotion. Krishna is only captured by the pure name. So there are three levels of name, three levels of chanting. The first is aparadna, when you commit offenses while chanting, you're not even endeavoring to come out of those offenses, including inattentiveness. So by chanting aparadna, the fruit is that you can fulfill the material desires. Material desires get fulfilled. Others' material desires get fulfilled, and our own material desires get fulfilled by chanting aparadna. The next stage is namabhas. On the state of namabhas, one can destroy the sinful reactions, one's own sinful reactions, and the sinful reactions of other persons. And the final stage is Shuddhana. On the Shuddhana platform, it is possible to actually awaken love of God in others. So the real service to the holy name is to try as much as possible to go towards the platform of Shuddhana. So if you see the seminar by His Holiness Chandramali Maharaj, the most important aspect is actually to be very, very attentive. to be very, very careful and very, very attentive. So this is the essence of devotional service, is to be attentive at every moment. At every moment to be very, very attentive. Because the mind is actually the most important component, because it is a matter of consciousness, it's not a matter of activity. So the mind is the most important component. So by being very careful, by being very attentive, to put our heart in Krishna consciousness, one becomes successful. So if you all observed that it was just a matter of being in Maharaj's association, and immediately the consciousness was uplifted. Immediately the taste of the holy name was actually, we could taste. Actually, one of the days my consciousness was really not good before coming down for kirtan. I was really, kind of disgusted with myself. But as soon as I came down and we participated in the kirtan, within a matter of that 1 hour, immediately my consciousness was completely different, completely on a different platform. So that is the power of association. So in the state of anartha nivritti, when so many anarthas are actually plaguing the heart, the only hope is actually association. Association is the absolutely the only hope. Association of the pure devotees is very, very important. So we should pray actually that we can take more and more association of pure devotees, especially Srila Prabhupada. Today morning I was just came across this, just got inspired to see this chapter of Bhagavatam, second canto. Um, the chapter's name is Pure Devotional Service, the Change of the Heart. So this is the most important thing in bhakti, is the change of the heart. And how will the heart become changed? How can the heart be changed? The heart can only be changed by blessings. Only by the blessings of great souls can the heart change from the position of being an enjoyer to being a servant. And the more and more we try to become a servant of Krishna, the more and more, by Krishna's causeless mercy, one can come to taste the sweetness of Krishna's devotional service. So, service to the devotees is paramount, is the most important thing. And service means with a desire to get their blessings. So, there are many ways in which we can do service to devotees, but the best way we can serve them is in such a way that uh, we can get their blessings. So there are many examples in Chaitanya Charitamrita about how service of devotees is very, very powerful. Kalidas is wonderful, is an amazing devotee. Of course, we cannot imitate. Rupa Goswami says we should make discrimination, but just for the sake of giving the example, actually Kalidas, um, he was taking the remnants of great devotees of the Lord. He was taking the remnants, he was taking the dust from their lotus feet. And because he served all the devotees, he took the dust from the feet of all the devotees, and he took the remnants of all the devotees. Therefore, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to the temple of Lord Jagannath, mm, Mahaprabhu allowed him to drink his direct foot wash 3 times. So that is the power of service to the pure devotees, service to the exalted devotees. So if we can cultivate this mood of always being eager to serve the devotees in whatever way possible, small or big, That is very powerful, very powerful, because devotees are the heart of Krishna. Krishna exemplifies, or Krishna appreciates every service done by a devotee. Srila Prabhupada said that one lady used to come to Radha Damodar every day and bring a glass of water from Yamuna, and Prabhupada said every day uh, Lord actually accepted. So this is very powerful, that Lord accepts the service. Every service of a sincere devotee, Krishna actually accepts. So if Krishna accepts, uh, that much regard Krishna has, and Krishna is attentive. So if we are attentive, then how much Krishna will become pleased upon us. So if we simply try to always worship the devotees, serve the devotees, appreciate the devotees, then we can definitely make a lot of progress in our Krishna consciousness. And only by serving devotees on a regular basis, by pleasing devotees, will it be possible to ultimately get the blessing of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. What is their blessing? Their blessing is that they will remove us from this quagmire, this network of this material uh, lamenting, hankering, desiring, and they will put us on the platform of desiring only pure devotional service. So that is the ultimate mercy that we are all longing for, and only by serving devotees regularly will it happen. So in that seminar by His Holiness Chandramali Maharaj mentioned so many wonderful things, so many things that can be heard again and again and again. But one of the most important things that Maharaj was mentioning in the whole seminar was actually the power of the holy name. So the holy name is the only means for us to actually please Lord Chaitanya, because actually first we are actually worshippers of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, and then we're actually worshippers of uh, Radha and Krishna, because without Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda it is impossible to actually please Radha and Krishna. So the most important component to please Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda by the chanting of the holy name is the mood. The mood is the most important thing. And the, that is the detail in devotional service. The mood is the detail. So unless one cultivates constant mood of ultimately longing for mercy, and the way that mood is expressed, uh, the mood is to always cry out for the mercy, and the way that mood is expressed is the third verse of Shikshashtaka. So by tolerating, by being humble, by not desiring respect and giving respect to others, one actually becomes eligible for the mercy of the holy name. The more and more we can chant the holy name, we can increase our appreciation for the holy name. The more and more we become qualified to actually hear about Krishna. Because the ultimate goal of our Krishna consciousness is to become absorbed in Krishna. Maharaj, we could observe that he was so absorbed, and when he was chanting, when he was singing, um, it was Maharaj was chanting with a lot of feeling, a lot of feeling. Even the bhajans of Maharaj was chanting a lot of feeling. So we want to come to that platform, that we want to feel, at least we want to feel grateful, we want to feel fortunate, so that we can take maximum advantage of what we have uh, in our spiritual life. So that mood will come, like Maharaj was saying, only by hearing about Krishna. But how will we hear about Krishna? How will we get the intense desire to hear about Krishna? That will only come when ultimately when we have the blessings of the devotees. So the more and more we follow the instructions of the devotees as much as possible, more and more we'll have an intense desire to hear about Krishna. The more and more we pay respect and we, with a lot of respect and a lot of devotion, we hear the glories of Krishna, the more and more we can grasp the mood in which that katha is actually delivered. So that's why it's very important to hear, especially from the pure devotees, from the exalted devotees, because the mood is constantly imprinted in the heart. So you hear from pure devotees constantly, then naturally once you stop hearing, then you have a eagerness to serve, eagerness to serve. And Prabhupada says that that service, when we hear from pure devotees constantly about the glories of the name, fame of the Supreme Lord, then that determination becomes strong. So the more and more we hear from pure devotees, when we put unflinching faith in the words of pure devotees, the more and more that same unflinching faith, it translates into surrender, translates into surrender. So anything we do with unflinching faith is very, very powerful, is very effective. Any service we do, any hearing we do, any chanting we do, anything we do, it brings immediate result when we put the unflinching faith. So this is the most important principle in devotional service, is to put unflinching faith. And Maharaj was saying that in order to put this unflinching faith, in order to have Shraddha, real Shraddha, Maharaj was mentioning that we need to do service to devotees, Vaishnav Seva. Because when you do Vaishnav Seva in a pleasing way, to whatever capacity, Vaishnav Seva does not mean just serving devotees personally. Vaishnav Seva means to do what pleases them. Like for example, how will Srila Prabhupada be pleased? Yes, we can sing Guru Puja, we can glorify him in so many ways. But Prabhupada will be really pleased if we serve his movement. So in the same way, serving the instructions of any great personality, Guru, is the way we can serve them. And by that, automatically blessings from their heart will flow spontaneously. And when blessings from their heart flow spontaneously, then naturally it becomes easy for us to put unflinching faith. Because unflinching faith you can only put when you experience a divinity in something. When you experience divinity in the name, you experience divinity in the form of the Lord, in the devotees of the Lord, in Bhagavatam, in Tulsi, in the deity, anything to put unflinching faith, you need to experience some divinity. So, in order to experience that divinity, one has to very sincerely serve the devotees of the Lord, please the devotees of the Lord on a regular basis. Because, yes, pure devotees will come and pure devotees will go. Of course, pure devotees, they understand, they can see beyond just they can experience the consciousness. But in order to please the pure devotees is not about just a day or a week, but it's about a lifetime. So pure devotees of the Lord will be pleased when we please our authorities and we please the devotees who we are dealing with regularly. And pleasing them is not easy, right? Because the mind goes through goodness, passion, ignorance. Naturally, the mind finds fault and so many things. So, in order to please, uh, we need to regularly hear from devotees. Actually, hearing is the most important thing. It's the most important thing. And I'm sorry to say, but many times I see devotees, they neglect this hearing principle. They think service is more important, and so that's okay. I mean, if I have opportunity to serve now, I mean, if I have an opportunity between hearing now and doing that same service later, as opposed to doing that service now, many devotees I see, they prefer to do the service now and neglect the hearing opportunity. No, that's okay. I can hear and serve at the same time. No, but we should spend at least some time every day hearing only, hearing with full attention, full, without doing anything else. Why? Because it is only by that process that we can understand the mood of devotional service. Because service, you can do so much service, but it's not just about the amount of service, but it's about the quality. See, in spiritual world also, they do service. They make garlands. So it's not that in the spiritual world, oh, they have some, some very special technique of making garlands. That's why they are, in the spiritual world. They are in the spiritual world because of the mood, because of the consciousness. So Prabhupada says this movement is about consciousness, Krishna consciousness. The consciousness is meant to move more and more towards the pleasure of Krishna. So for that, hearing is the best way to associate with someone. That is the best association. The best association is by hearing, is by discussing about Krishna only. So this is a very important principle. It's the most important principle of associating with pure devotees, hearing from pure devotees on a regular basis. On a regular basis. It's the most powerful thing in Krishna consciousness. So that's why Prabhupada's books are very, very important. Very, very important. I just want to read one small thing from Prabhupada's purport about the power of Sankirtan Yajna. Why Sankirtan Yajna is very important, and also at the same time, why hearing from pure devotees is very important. Why is it that it's so special? Okay. He simply directly engages himself in activities of Krishna consciousness and thereby factually attains his constitutional position as an eternal servitor of Lord Krishna. In such a situation, he takes pleasure in hearing and glorifying the Supreme Lord in pure devotional service. So again, in such a situation, he takes pleasure in hearing and glorifying the Supreme Lord in pure devotional service. He is convinced that by doing so, all his objectives will be fulfilled. This is the punchline. This is the punchline. Unless we take pleasure in hearing and glorifying the Supreme Lord in the association of pure devotees, we cannot be convinced that all our objectives are fulfilled. Because in the stage of anattanavritti, naturally speaking for myself, I have so many desires or counter desires, hankering and lamenting. But only when we take pleasure in hearing and glorifying the Supreme Lord, only then will we give up our hankering and lamenting, because then we become convinced that everything will be fulfilled. Krishna will fulfill everything in pure devotional service. This determined faith. So when we become convinced that all objectives will be fulfilled, then the next line Prabhupada says, this determined faith is called Dhrida Vrata, and it is the beginning of Bhakti Yoga. Prabhupada is saying beginning of Bhakti Yoga or transcendental loving service. So if we want to begin real Bhakti Yoga, we want to begin our relationship with Krishna, revive our relationship with Krishna, then we have to take pleasure in hearing and glorifying the Supreme Lord. And that is only possible in the association of pure devotees of the Lord. Otherwise, it is completely impossible. So that's why on a day-to-day basis, we have to focus on this point, that how we can hear systematically, we can hear more and more and more about Krishna, because more you hear about Krishna, the process of devotional service, the more the mind will become inspired, the intelligence will become enlightened to follow that path, to follow that path. Because otherwise, naturally, very external, the senses, see external things. The mind sees externally, intelligence sees externally. So unless you hear from pure devotees, we cannot actually uh, understand what is the internal world that is so much more exciting, so much more fulfilling than the external world. So by hearing and by participating in Sankirtan Yajna, more and more we can become inspired in our Krishna consciousness. And when we become inspired in our Krishna consciousness, then naturally we can serve the movement in a much more pleasing way to Srila Prabhupada, in a more grateful way to Srila Prabhupada. And if we serve in that mood, then we won't need anything also. We won't need any praise. We won't need anything. We'll just be completely happy serving. And that's what pleases Prabhupada the most. What is the most pleasing thing to Prabhupada? The most pleasing thing to Srila Prabhupada is when we can develop our attraction, we can develop love for Krishna, and we can serve in that mood. So the one pastime that comes to my mind is Palas Ranath Maharaj was mentioning that how Dukhi Krishna Das, Shyamananda Pandit, that he was so happy doing his service. He was so happy to sweep that area of Seva Kunj, that Srimati Radharani, she became so much attracted by his service attitude that she revealed uh, her divinity, she revealed herself, she gave herself to him. So that is the essence, that when we serve with a grateful heart, when we serve with a humble mood, um, then we attract the mercy of Srimati Radharani. So it's a very, very important principle in Krishna consciousness is to hear about Krishna, is to hear about the process of devotional service and to participate in this Sankirtan Yajna. Whenever possible, we should try and participate with enthusiasm, participate with eagerness. That is the essence of Krishna consciousness. And you see any great personality in the movement now, that what is the secret to their success? The secret to their success is that one, they have a very comprehensive understanding of the process of Krishna consciousness. And at the same time, they have a lot of eagerness for chanting the holy name. So it's like one level of perception is when Maharaj was speaking, but when Maharaj was doing kirtan, you will see like how enthusiastic, how inspired uh, Maharaj actually was. And of course, Maharaj always is. So that becomes very attractive to us. That becomes very, very attractive to our consciousness. When we see the eagerness um, of the pure devotees when they perform the Sankirtan of the Supreme Lord. So that's what I wanted to speak today. Anyone has any question or comment? My dear Vidura, carrier of the bows and arrows, all the demigods who were performing the sacrifice took their bath at the confluence of the Ganges and the Yamuna after completing the Yajna's performance. Such a bath is called Avabrata Snan. After thus becoming purified in heart, they departed for their respective abodes. So in the purport, Prabhupada is saying about sacrifice, and Prabhupada is saying that how Sankirtan Yajna is the ultimate sacrifice. So, anyone has any question or comment online?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, I had a question about how to overcome our forgetfulness after hearing. Like, how do we strengthen that it we remember things? That's my personal struggle.
Yeah, I feel that that is good to remember. Srila Prabhupada said that when you become a pure devotee, then you remember everything I said. So, want to remember everything, then only when one becomes a pure devotee, one can remember every single thing. But of course, making notes helps, studying helps, but ultimately, sincerity is the most important thing. Sincerity is what awakens real intelligence. Tesham satadayuktanam bhajtam pritipurvakam dadami buddhyogam tam yenam upayanti. So, in order to get that buddhi, one needs to constantly engage with sincerity in the service of the Lord. And also, another very important consideration is that more than what we hear is very important, but more important than that is the more we capture from hearing. So that definitely gets imprinted. So as long as we grasp that, that is what remains. That is what we use for we use in our services. We use the mood. So as long as that is captured, then and everyone has a unique mood, a unique inspiration. So as long as one uses uh, his strength, so strength means that everyone has a particular attraction Krishna consciousness. So if you can identify that, I mean, if anyone can identify that, I'm sure you've already identified, but if anyone can identify that strength in Krishna consciousness and use that strength to actually serve Krishna more and more and more, then that strength can help to overcome our weaknesses or our conditioning. Weaknesses means conditioning, that's all. So if we, the more and more we engage, automatically that weakness will dissolve. So the most important thing is actually capturing the mood, right? So for example, Sachinandan Maharaj, um, you can see that he's centers everything around the holy name. And like that, different devotees have different moods. So if we can capture the mood, then we become successful in Krishna consciousness. So that is very, very, and ultimately, um, the, the most important thing um, is to make the heart one with the heart of the pure devotee. That is most important desire we should have. That let my heart become one with the heart of the pure devotee. And only when we develop that kind of intense desire can the moods of the pure devotee, we can realize that. When we pray in that way, then we can realize the moods of the pure devotee. And then when His Holiness Ranath Maharaj says actually that at every moment, if we are praying to the spiritual master that I want to serve you in the best possible way, in the way in which you want me to serve, then he says that that ensures that everything we do will be most pleasing and most perfect. So, yeah, I'm very fallen, very unqualified, but yeah, that's what I I could think of.
So, Prabhuji, oh, understanding the mood of what we hear, and also you mentioned that identify the strength. So, did you mean the nine processes that one of the nine processes that we are attracted to?
I mean, it's a combination. Strength does not mean just a process, but I mean, um, like for example, some devotees are spontaneously attracted to Vrindavan. Some people are spontaneously attracted to Nityananda Prabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So everyone has some previous impression, you can say. So that's what I mean. Of course, service also. Like for example, some people have intense desire to sing for Krishna. So, and when they sing for Krishna, they feel in their heart, they feel, mm, um, deep connection to the process, and basically the desire for pure devotional service. They feel more and more that they want to execute pure devotional service, and sing the holy name. Kirtan is pure devotional service. So like that. So whatever activity and whatever we can use to generate the pure devotional desire, that's what I mean by strength.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Yes.
So you said from the culture of somebody or somebody to have consciousness should without pleasure in hearing and glorifying Krishna. So that's long process. Generally, like because of our condition, we don't have the pleasure in hearing or glorifying Krishna. So is it after another university or during another university?
Yeah, Bhuji, I mean, well, you can add, but I just.
So it says like one should derive pleasure in hearing and glorification of Krishna. So that will, that's the first step of bhakti. So I'm asking like, it happen during another process or another, because most of the time because of the condition, I'm not having the pleasure of hearing.
So you can. Yes, Ruji. Yes, so yes, Ruji. I mean, like at the stage of ruchi, which is after nivritti, then the taste that one gets is like really high, really high. But the point I'm stressing is that we may not. I mean, I don't have pleasure, but when we associate with Srila Prabhupada, specifically Srila Prabhupada, and pure devotees of the Lord, Prabhupada disciples, so we can experience their pleasure if we associate for prolonged period. Like for example, you start hearing maybe like I also experienced that day in the kirtan. Beginning of the kirtan maybe not so much enthusiastic, but after 1 hour of the kirtan, right, then you start experiencing something. I mean, may not be like super high, but definitely is a change of consciousness. So yeah, so by hearing and chanting, I mean by hearing uh, in the association of pure devotees, elevated devotees, right? So then one can begin to experience pleasure, like it's visual Prabhu when you lead, right? I feel like there is so much divinity in so. So yeah, by associating, by doing kirtan, by hearing, one gets some pleasure, something. Like for example, in the so many days of kirtan, some days you will definitely won't forget. Some impressions you will not forget, isn't it? So that's my point. So those impressions are enough for us to like carry on. And then as we go more and more, we will get more and more uh, um, impressions, such impressions of taking pleasure, hearing and chanting. So that's what I mean, that even a state of anatanivriti, by hearing, one can experience something. But for that, most important thing is constant, constant. So that's the most important thing. Constantly, regularly. Constantly is difficult, 24 hours difficult, so at least regularly, on a regular basis. So more and more we do that, there's a higher chance that we will experience that. So yeah, it's a process, but at the same time, yeah, Maharaj mentioned one very important word in the whole seminar, and that is that one should be very attentive and very careful. So as long as we're very attentive and very careful in whatever we do, even though the mind may not cooperate, but at least we are very attentive and careful in what we're doing. what we're associating with. Like how heavy was Maharaj about taking prasadam? Like, from where? So all these things signify sincerity, seriousness, and being very attentive. So if one is very attentive, very careful, then yeah, I mean there are times I have my low phases, but at the same time, if you're very careful, very sincere, and we're always associating and praying, then there is, because ultimately the spiritual problem of not having taste, that nobody except pure devotees the Lord can solve. Krishna only they can solve it. Only they can remove it completely. But all we have in our hand is our sincerity. So yeah, so
Some related questions, let's touch upon it, but see, we had some pleasure and all that, and then pure devotee, that Maharaj was here and then associated. But you see, like, we ended the programs on Wednesday, and we had a Kirtan program on Thursday, only 3 souls turned up. And then how do we carry that mood, because Maharaj said, like, somebody is there, and we say, Haribol, jump, everything that. But then we have to continue that mood. Next day also we are glorifying the holy names. But nobody was there to keep them. And like, how do we continue that? Like, when somebody comes, then we jump up, do all these things, and then not even slow down, it's just I've got to stop. And so how do we continue that enthusiasm, like, divine pleasure associated? Whoever is available, take that association.
yeah, Ujis,
Prabhu, could you
usually,
please repeat the question also?
yeah, the question is Sachita Prabhu is saying that when a pure devotee comes, then we experience a spiritual pleasure and we experience. But then after that, we see that the energy goes down, and so Prabhu's question was how can we continue that? So yeah, Prabhuji, it is our individual responsibility to continue that. So yeah, we have to take the individual responsibility. Um, and that's what Maharaj said, it's a consistent, continuous endeavor. So, like the taste that Krishna is giving to us is his causeless mercy. So, if we are very sincere and serious, regardless of our situation, Krishna can give us that. Krishna can give us that taste in the holy name, that enthusiasm in pure devotional service. Of course, even when we don't have, we also continue the process. There's no shortcut. But all Maharaj was stressing is to be careful. So the thing is, there's a higher chance that you will get taste if you associate with uh, things which have taste, right, naturally, like Bhagavatam, the deities, the devotees, the holy name. So if you associate with them, because they are all pure. But the problem is that, speaking for myself, I already have a stockpile of so much material conditioning. I have a stockpile of so much material conditioning from so many lifetimes, and karma and all these things. And then if I'm careless to associate with Maya again, in whatever small or big way, so that's all Maharaj was stressing, that how we can be careful to not associate with the material energy, Maya's elements, in whatever way. So one of the things Maharaj was saying was, of course, about Prasadam. That's the point. So if we can be very careful, and at the same time, because if you are very careful, then Krishna sees that you're sincere. So sincerity means Krishna will give you the intelligence of how to do this. So there's no like black and white answer to this question. Even for myself, I also have the same question, that how to carry the mood. There's no, so every situation, every day is different. But if we are sincere by avoiding things which are not good for us, if we are very sincere in that regard and taking the positive association, if you are very sincere, then Krishna will give us the intelligence how to do that. And we see, like, as days pass by, as years pass by, we see that slowly, even though we have our times, we see that there is a change. Definitely, the consciousness is, to some extent, it is definitely, it is better. We're able to, at least, we're able to access, we're getting access to deeper and deeper mercy. So this is also very important, actually, that if we stay in ISKCON, we stay in devotional service, the humble, sincere mode, definitely our opportunities to associate with pure devotees will increase more and more. Definitely, we'll get more and more association of pure devotees, more and more opportunity to serve pure devotees, more opportunity to hear from them, more opportunity to hear about the pure devotional service. We'll get more and more opportunity. That's for sure. That's for sure. So that is Krishna's mercy. That is Krishna's greatest mercy, showing that Krishna is actually reciprocating. So, yeah. Anyone online has any question or comment? Okay, please forgive me if I spoke anything wrong or inappropriate. I beg all of your blessings that I myself want to hear those lectures again and again, because I'm sure there's so many things, so many small details which will help me in my Krishna consciousness in those lectures. So I hope I can hear those lectures again and again, actually imbibe those, imbibe those things. So again, please forgive me if I spoke anything wrong, inappropriate. वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव जन श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। हरे कृष्ण।
जय श्याम।